This is the third of 3 videos that address the subject of setting up the AccountingLink to Sage 50 Canada. We assume, if you've made it to this point, that you've already reviewed the videos and set up the settings that were discussed in the first 2, and those were the CoreCon settings and installation of the AccountingLink on your desktop, and the data setup recommendations for the accounting settings in Sage 50 Canada. This is a continuation of the video where we set up the AccountingLink to Sage 50 Canada on your desktop. The next thing I need to do is check a few settings in global settings. So I'm going to go to the gray gear icon next to my company name, click that, go to Profile. Notice first of all that the accounting system says Sage Simply Accounting, and that which is the same as Sage 50 Canada, and that the country underneath my ship and bill to address also say Canada. Okay. And if I go to the license and add-on information, I should see a AccountingLink for Sage 50 under the option description, and when I go to global settings, my default currency is Canadian dollars. Now I should also have an icon that showed up on my desktop that looks something like this. And so when I click this, I'm going to log in just like I would into CoreCon V8 as administrator and click OK. Now if I pull this down, there should be nothing here because we've never actually made a connection before. And I'm going to click the new button, but this will usually be the only time you do that. From now on, when you come back to this, you're going to click the connect button to get into this software. But let's go ahead and click new. And now we need to go back and find the company data folder for our Sage 50 Canada. So I'm just going to click there. It was in my documents under Simply Accounting, data, and there's my folder. Even though my Sage 50 is going to be closed when I do this installation and set up the preferences, I do need to come back and make sure that the file, when I click File, I can see that this is switched to multi-user mode because I need to be in single user mode when I do this. And I need to go up to Setup, go to Setup User Roles, and log in as the administrator. Then click the Modify User button and make sure that the rights with third-party products is set to read and write access. So with my Sage 50 closed, I'm going to click on File, select Sage 50 File. I'm going to connect to CoreCon. There's nothing in the Select Connections option, so this is the only time I'm going to click the New button. I'm going to go out and just grab that data file. There's the routing that I used, but yours might be a little bit different. Click Open. Just type in my password. Now this is my username and password to Sage 50 Canada, not the one to CoreCon V8. This is a separate login. Click Connect. And we're going to give it a few minutes to update. It's going out and reading the data for the first time over in Sage 50 Canada. And now I can go in and start setting up the preferences. So I'm just going to name this and it's just describing the connection. It's not actually just necessarily describing your company name, although your company name may go there. I'm going to go ahead and leave the preferences number 1 and 2 here to sync based on the most recently modified. So that's for the company sync and the employee sync. For my job cost code linking preferences, I'm going to go ahead and choose the 00CCUNC as my option. That's the clearing. If all else fails, AccountingLink can't find a place to put it over on the Sage 50 side, it's going to put it under this service item. And then I have a couple options. I could post in detail by cost code. I could post by project number, which really isn't applicable in this case. I could post by project classification or by resource type. I'm going to, first of all, choose to do this by resource type to show you how to set it up. You remember we set up those items for service items. So I just want to go in and basically match these up. So this is M resource or materials. So we're just going to choose materials, labor, equipment, subcontract, and other. All right. So that would be the setup if we're doing it by cost resource. If we're doing it by cost code, remember I did this by division, I would probably want to go to the AccountingLink AP item based on job cost code exact match only. We prefer that one over the job cost code description. We want the actual number, so it's job cost code exact match only. And in that case, there's nothing more I need to do. CoreCon will actually make the match for me. Then under build type linking, I have these different build types that I set up custom. And so now I'm going to go in and match these up to make sure they're posting in the right format. And in each case, I'm just going to click export to bills. Now the build memo field preferences, if I pull that down, there's a couple different ways. These are the transaction descriptions or transaction references that get exported over to Sage 50 Canada. And you have some options here to choose from. The main place you'd probably see these is on a vendor or subcontractor check stub. When they print that out, it has a line item for each invoice being paid with an invoice date, invoice number, brief description, and the amount being paid. Well, this is that brief description. And I'm going to choose to, I'm going to choose not to show retainage, but if I did and I had retainage items, I would just add those here. But for now, we'll leave that at no retainage. I also have a description for subcontract invoices, same as bills. It's going to show up there a few places, so I want to make sure I get a good description format. My accounts receivable job cost code linking preferences. Now, if I were posting based on cost resource, I probably would have wanted to create an additional cost resource, right? And the clearing, of course, will be the same, 00 CCUNC, but I'm going to choose the choose by a single AR item, but I may have wanted to create the 00 REV or something, just so we have a place to put it, but we'll leave it here. I could also choose to post these by job cost code, which I'm going to do in this case. And I could again show retainage or not. Again, we're under accounts receivable. I'm going to choose not to. But if I did, I would have to choose items for that. For now, we're not going to do that. And the prime invoice memo field, it's just how you want that to appear in the Sage 50 Canada side of the software. So we'll just choose one of those. I also have tax codes, but at the moment, these haven't been imported, so I'm going to have to come back. So I would definitely want to make sure that these match. Right now, they do not, but we would, on the left-hand side is the tax codes as they appear in CoreCon. So these are the ones that I made custom. The ones on the right are the way they appear in Sage 50 Canada. And since I haven't set those up yet, I'm not going to do the matching for that just yet. All right, and then when I'm done, I'm not going to choose this disconnect. That actually severs the connection. So we're going to leave that alone. But I am going to click Save. And I want to save my preferences. Preferences have been saved. Give it a second to update. Now it's asking me if I want to import any of my records from Sage. And because this is a new setup, I don't have any vendors or employees. Or let's import the Sage 50 tax codes. And because I do know those are over there, there's no employees or vendors just yet, so we're going to leave those. But this will import every vendor and employee that's over there. So remember that if you have a lot that are inactive or they're not relevant to CoreCon, maybe they're not for job cost purposes, you may want to make those inactive and run this import active vendor and employees, and then you have to go back and make them active again on Sage 50 side. But I'm going to leave those alone because I don't have any in there. It's a new setup. And I'm also going to link the existing. If there's one on both sides that can find a match, it will link them for me automatically. I'm going to click import link data. I'm going to click next. All right. And now, since I have those tax codes in, if we go back to sync preferences one more time, just let it populate. And if we go down here to the bottom, now you can see there's my GST. So we're just going to match that up. We have the GST for exempt purchases, this one. We have GST for exempt sales, so we're matching that one up. And so on. There's the GST with a 7% PST, and click Save again.